Hey y'all, today we're going to be talking about the Delphi murders, sometimes known as the Snapchat murders. On February 13, 2017, Liberty German, also known as Libby, who was 14, and her friend Abigail Abby Williams, who was 13 at the time, had a day off of school. It was unusually warm that day, and instead of spending all day at home, they decided to take a trip to the trail near Monon High Bridge, one of the tallest bridges in Indiana that crosses Deer Creek. Abby and Libby were dropped off at 1:35 p.m. by Libby's sister Kelsey. Their pickup time was set for 3 p.m. They were dropped off on County Road 300 North. At around 2 p.m., Libby posted a picture of Abby walking across a deserted bridge at the trail. When pickup time came, the girls failed to show. It didn't seem unusual right away when Derek arrived and did not see the girls, waiting for him to arrive. A few moments started to become a few hours, and later, the police was called to report the girls missing. Initially, Sheriff Toby Lazenby issued a press release saying that there was no reason to suspect foul play was involved or to believe the girls were in immediate danger. A massive search was launched, but it was called off when it became too dark and dangerous to continue that same day before midnight. The next day, which was Valentine's Day, February 14th, for those who don't know, searchers found the bodies of Libby and Abby. Initially, their identities were kept private, and they were found about 50 feet from the north bank of Deer Creek. This was about half a mile east of the abandoned deck girder bridge. On February 15, following autopsies on both girls, the state police and the Carroll County Sheriff's Department held a news conference announcing that the girls were, in fact, Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Their cause of death was ruled a homicide. Both Libby and Abby appeared to have sensed they were being followed and in danger, as suggested by the recording of the suspicious individual they encountered. During the press release, the Indiana State Police released a photo of a man seen walking along the trail at the same time as Libby and Abby. This was the picture that Libby had taken of Abby. It is believed that they knew they were being followed. The image depicts a Caucasian male with his hands in his pockets. He is wearing a dark blue jacket, blue jeans, and a tan brownish green beret. It is unknown if he is wearing a long brown shirt or a fanny pack, possibly a gun holster. It's been suspected that the man approached the girls on the trail or bridge where he is seen walking towards them. Libby and Abby made a conscious effort to document the suspicious stranger. Audio of the man saying, "Down the hill." The audio is a bit muffled, but still clear to make out what was being said. They were likely attacked at or near the bridge. What's troubling is that the searchers were looking in that general area before calling off the search, and no one saw the girls or the man or anything that looked suspicious before they called off the search. To this day, authorities are not releasing details on how the girls were killed. Officials have regarded Libby as a hero for having had the uncanny foresight and fortitude to record the exchange in secret. Police have indicated that they have additional evidence from her phone secured as to not compromise the investigation or future trial. The initial reward offered in the case was set at $41,000. Recently, the police released a new sketch of a prime suspect in this double homicide. What's interesting is this new sketch looks nothing like the initial photo and sketch that was released of the man they were looking to speak with. Now, I wanted to point out that the police never indicated that the man they had the photo of and subsequent sketch of was a suspect. What they did say was that they were interested in speaking with him, but not necessarily that he was a suspect. This new sketch, however, the police indicated that this was their prime suspect and the person responsible for the deaths of Libby and Abby. It is now 2020, and we are no closer to finding out who committed this horrendous crime in such a small, quiet little town in Indiana. No one seems to recognize the audio taken by Libby at the time they disappeared. No one seems to recognize that voice, and no one seems to recognize either the man on the bridge or the prime suspect sketch that was recently released in 2019. Delphi, Indiana is a very small place. It seems weird that no one would have any idea who this person or persons are. Abby and Libby were familiar with this trail. It was not the first time they had gone on the trail. They were actually there the day before with Libby's sister Kelsey. The trail had people on it almost all the time. It was a popular place to go to and take a hike. Delphi, Indiana had not had a crime of this magnitude. Its community always felt it was a safe place to live and never thought twice about leaving their doors unlocked. Delphi had a population of 2,893 at the 2010 census, which is incredibly small. To put it a little bit into perspective, Kelsey, Libby's sister, is said to have graduated with 96 other people. It was definitely country living or small-time living. As of February 2017, that all changed for Delphi. No one leaves their doors open anymore. No one goes to the trails alone anymore. It's now too scary. Both Abby and Libby played saxophone in the school band. They met at school and were best friends. Libby was very outgoing, while Abby was more reserved. Libby tried being a part of every extracurricular available. She was very outgoing. Abby was outdoorsy. She loved her cat, and she loved art and to decorate. A lot of people take pictures at this bridge, or they go there just to enjoy the scenery. So it was not an isolated location. It was very popular among the locals. Something was always going on at the trail or at the bridge. While on the bridge, Libby saved a video of the guy walking on the bridge to her phone. When pickup time came and Abby and Libby did not show up, Libby's dad waited around for a little bit, thinking they were just a little late. After they failed to show up a little bit later, they began to panic, and it was around 4:12 p.m. where Kelsey noticed calls from her grandmother. Her grandmother never calls her repeatedly unless something's really up, and she had called her repeatedly and left a voicemail. When she called her grandmother back, she was asked if she had heard from Libby and Abby. Kelsey left work to go help look for Abby and Libby. Kelsey got to the bridge at about 4:30 p.m. to look for Libby and Abby. Kelsey led the search to areas she knew they would go to willingly. One lady who was on the trail said she was on the bridge a little after the time the girls were on the bridge, and she never saw anything out of the ordinary, and she didn't hear anything either. When the police released the picture of the man on the bridge, that man never came forward. Then audio of the man they believed was their main suspect was released to the public. Also, police are said to have audio of the girls talking about a man following them. Police believe the girls did this on purpose. They were afraid of this man. The first sketch of the suspect was composed with witness testimony. Shortly after the girls went missing, Ron Logan's property was searched. His property was right on the edge of the trail. He was later eliminated as a suspect. No arrests were made. As far as suspects go, the first one is Daniel Nations. So Nations is a registered sex offender from Indiana. He was arrested in Woodland Park, Colorado in September 2017 and charged with threatening strangers on a monument trail with a hatchet. The expired Indiana plates on the car Nations was driving gave him up to police, who subsequently noticed an outstanding warrant under his name. Fanning public speculation still further, it was reported that a bicyclist had been fatally shot on the same trail at around the time that Nations was purportedly terrifying passerbys. An El Paso County Sheriff's official told reporters that, however many similarities there were between the cases, he was not at liberty to disclose them. since Indiana investigators did not want any more information released. On January 5, 2018, Nations was sentenced to 3 years of probation for threatening members of the public in Colorado. However, he was not released since he had an active warrant out on him from another county, back in Indiana. On January 24th, Nations was finally transferred to Indiana officials' custody on an unrelated charge, failure to register as a sex offender. In early February 2018, authorities proclaimed that Nations is no longer considered an active person of interest in the Delphi murders. Another person of interest was Paul Etter. On July 23, 2019, after receiving a tip, authorities announced that Paul Etter was considered a suspect in the murders. Etter was wanted for the kidnapping and rape of a 26-year-old woman on June 22nd in Tippecanoe County, Indiana. 5 days later, Etter was surrounded by police, and after a 5-hour standoff, Etter killed himself. Thomas Bruce. Bruce, who formerly worked as a pastor, is charged with fatally shooting one woman and sexually assaulting 2 others after having ordered them at gunpoint into the back room of a suburban St. Louis shop for religious supplies. Committed in broad daylight on November 19, 2018, these crimes put Bruce in the spotlight of the press. Some noted his being of similar stature, which is 5'7" to 5'9" inches, to the then current suspect description in the Delphi slayings. Also, his wearing a flat cap and navy blue jacket during his attack, not unlike the suspect in the Delphi case. Indiana State Police did look into his possible connection in November. On December 4th, Bruce was charged with no fewer than 17 felony counts related to the St. Louis case and could receive the death penalty. Charles Eldridge. Eldridge was arrested on January 8, 2019, in Union City, Indiana, on charges of child molestation and child solicitation. Police in Randolph County alerted the FBI to a potential link between Eldridge and the Delphi murders on account of his strong resemblance to the suspect's sketch, albeit this was before the updated composite had come out. Another interesting point in this case is that police have released an additional plea for helping in identifying the driver of a vehicle left abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphi at the former Child Services office between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. Not much has been said about this, but it is something they were looking for help with. A new sketch of the killer was released, and he does not look like the man on the bridge. Police say this person may range from his 20s to his 30s, but caution that his youthful appearance could make him look younger than his true age. Police say he may live in Delphi and believe he is hiding in plain sight, and that they have interviewed him or someone close to him. The newly revised composite is the prime suspect. The previously released sketch, showing an older man with a goatee and cap, depicted a different person of secondary interest. Recently, it was announced that $1.2 million were being used to bump up security at the trails. $1 million has been allocated for a sports complex, which will include a trail, 3 softball fields, and an amphitheater, which will be dedicated to the memory of Abby and Libby. Law enforcement have urged the public to all look at the sketch, listen to the audio, watch how this coward walks on the high bridge, and send your tip to this email, abbyandlibbytip@cacoshrf.com. Please follow Kelsey on Twitter, and you can follow the Abby and Libby brainstorming group. And you can also hashtag Abby and Libby anywhere on social media and post about the case anywhere you can to help get the word out. Please make sure to contact the Delphi Police. I will post the phone number on the comment section. So far, we don't really know who is responsible for this double homicide. Hopefully in the coming years, we will find out and someone will be arrested.